Okay, good evening, everybody. Before we begin, I'll ask everyone present to please silence cell phones and other electronic devices and remind council that our procedure bylaw prescribes the use of technology during council meetings. It is 6:30 p.m. I'll call this council meeting to order. And as I do, I will read a territorial land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Anishinaabe, now of Alderville. We honor their deep-rooted connections to this land and recognize the historical significance of their contributions to our community. As we engage in discussions about land use, environmental initiatives, and best practices, we commit to respecting the rights and perspectives of Indigenous peoples. We strive to work collaboratively towards solutions that benefit our community while recognizing and valuing the cultural heritage and ongoing relationship of Indigenous nations with this land. Let us work together towards a future that promotes equity, sustainability, and justice for all. Move into the approval of the agenda with a motion moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon. The council approve the September 15th, 2025 council agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Members of council, have you any declarations of pecuniary interest? And if so, please state the general nature thereof. There are none noted. Are there any announcements this evening? Councillor Rowley?
Thank you, Mayor. So on September 4th, I believe a contingent of firefighters traveled via bicycle from Hamilton to Ottawa. I was able to stop by the fire station and chat and greet some of the guys. It wasn't a very nice day. If I recall, I think it was quite rainy for them to drive through. But anyway, the chief and his staff hosted them, and it was nice to speak to some of these guys. They were on their way to Ottawa in honor of those first responders who have passed away during the last swell. It's all in remembrance. It was great.
Thank you for that. Anyone else with an announcement? Councillor Wheeldon?
I know you were probably going to say this, but I'll beat you to it. Big congratulations to Ben Hagerman and Caroline Birch, who were both named in the top 40 under 40 for Bay of Quinte businesses. Congratulations.
As well as Meg Fox from the Tin Roof. From those are the Brighton people. The Brighton people, associated Brighton people somehow. One of those people that lives in Napanee, but it doesn't count because he works here. Any other announcements? I would like to welcome our new manager of finance and treasurer, Paul Creamer. Paul brings over 15 years of experience in municipal finance, including senior leadership roles. His background spans financial planning, budgeting, asset management, and policy development, with a strong track record of leading finance teams and implementing innovative solutions. Paul, we're grateful for bringing yourself here, and we look forward to your contribution. So welcome. Welcome. 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, was the Ontario Volunteer Service Awards, and present that evening were two people from Brighton. My mother, Mrs. Wendy Zink, who was awarded for her 25-year volunteer award for her work at community care, and a young lady, Ms. Crocker, who was offered a youth service award for her work with the guiding with local guides here in Brighton. So it was nice to be able to be present for those two Brightonians. Also, the former mayor of Colborne or Crammy Township, I think he was the first mayor of Crammy Township, Jim Williams, was honored for his work with community care as well that evening. Last Saturday before last, we gathered to honor the life and service of Captain Wayne Newman. We recognized Wayne's passing at the last council meeting, but I think there were 6 fire services present that day who paraded with Brighton Fire from Station 1 to the Legion, honoring Captain Newman at his service. And we are also grateful for Trent Hills and Crammy Fire for coming on standby and making themselves available. So we'll pass along our thanks there. And finally, today marks a very important day. It is our CAO's birthday. So happy birthday, CAO Arthurs. I wouldn't normally embarrass you in a meeting, but today is a very special birthday, and I would never, ever disclose the age of a woman or ask the age of a woman. But Councillor Wright, you'll be pleased to know she joins us in a certain decade today. All right. Back to business. I'll ask one last time if there's any other announcements. And if you can beat that one, I'll wish you luck. Are you? You're also in this decade with us. See, I did. Councillor Rowley. I didn't know that. I thought you were still younger than that. You're welcome. All right, on to the adoption of the minutes with a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council adopt both the September 2nd, 2025 Council and September 8th, 2025 Council Planning Meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Statutory public meeting on the docket this evening. That brings us to delegations. Our only delegation is from Claudia Kusiak regarding a shed at 146 Cedar Street, tree removal, seeking reimbursement of expense for tree removal and severance of shed location. So Ms. Kusiak will invite you to the podium. The clerk will show you how to operate it, move it up and down, and the microphone. And I will read this. Council will hear one delegation this evening. Delegates have 10 minutes to provide council with their information. It is noted that language, content, and conduct must always remain respectful. Council will be provided with an opportunity to ask questions of clarification from the delegation representative based on the information they have presented. Council is reminded that this is not an opportunity to engage in debate with the delegate nor advance a public policy position, and delegates are reminded that council does not make decisions during the delegates portion of the meeting. So, Ms. Kusiak, thank you and welcome.
Greetings. I'm here in regards to a tree that had fallen, and it was on August the 3rd, 2020. When that tree came down, I immediately, or very shortly after that, had gone out to where it had fallen, and the neighbor had called Brighton Municipality about the tree. So there was a numerous amount of people there. And I was told by somebody who works for the municipality that that tree was indeed on my property and needed to be removed ASAP. And that was August the 3rd, 2020. So about 5 days later, that tree was removed. We paid for the tree to be removed by Flynn. And then 3 weeks later, we had decided to put a shed up. So since that tree was on my property, I chose to put the shed a foot from the stump of where that tree, which was my tree, on my property. So I placed that shed there. That is why that shed is there. So I am here to say, I feel that the story hasn't been brought forth, or our side of what had transpired. We've been working through this for the last year. So we have asked actually even Sam Burgess to write a letter to council in regards to what had transpired. And we hadn't heard back for I would say probably 6 to 8 weeks or even longer than that. So we were told that we have to remove the shed because it's on municipal property. But I was told that tree was my responsibility. That's why I removed that tree and paid for it. I certainly would not put a shed on municipal property. That's just not who I am. Like, I wouldn't do that. So I feel that this needs to be rectified on some level. I think people should come out and look at where my shed is and look at the fact that I've asked for perhaps a severance of where my shed is sitting at this moment. And if not, perhaps an encroachment. And if not, perhaps some responsibility from the municipality for the fact that they told me that was my tree and I paid for that tree to be removed. I certainly would not put that shed where that shed is today. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing us this information, and thank you for hosting me for a site meeting a couple weeks ago. I
Yes.
appreciate that too.
Thank you kindly.
You're welcome. I'll get you to hang in just in case members of council have questions of clarification. Members of council? Councillor Butwell, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, evening.
Hello.
Hi. So, just a couple of clarifying questions for
Sure.
myself, and it may not make sense to you, but it helps my brain kind of put this together. So, what was the cost of the tree removal?
A little over $500.
And it was Flynn Forestry?
Yes.
That did it? Okay, and so a few weeks later, sorry, my screen went out. A few weeks later, you put the shed up.
Correct.
Did you receive a permit to put that shed up?
No, because the shed is 8 by 14 feet.
So bear with me here. 112 square feet.
And you don't need a permit for a shed of that size.
Okay. I can't even read my own notes. I'll let somebody else ask a question, see if I can figure out what I've written.
Councillor Wright?
Thank you.
Are we on? Okay. I went ahead, hi, sorry,
Hi.
through you, Mr. Mayor. I went ahead and looked at a Google Earth map from 2018, and I think I can see the tree on there. Can you just confirm that that's the tree? There's a little silver dot right there. It's very,
I can't.
you can take the picture.
I can't discern that actually, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
We did send pictures of the tree that had come down, actually.
Okay, I hadn't,
I just need you to speak into
Sorry,
the
we did
microphone.
send pictures in regards to the tree that had come
Okay.
down. So I can't discern whether that's the tree. I can't tell you the truth.
yeah, there's a little silver dot where I could see the branches, so I'm just thinking that that's where the tree was. So I'm just hoping that maybe we can use that staff can potentially use that data to apply the lines and see where everything falls.
Well, there's been a survey since, has
Correct.
there not?
Yes.
Yeah, so we know where the property lines are.
All right.
And we now know that the offending tree was on municipal property when it came down.
Okay,
So it was our tree that these nice people were told to remove.
got it. All right.
Sorry.
According to
That's okay.
the lines of the survey that I eyeballed anyway.
Right.
I'm not a surveyor, as you know. Councillor Butwell?
Thank you again and through you. So I'm just gonna follow because no permit was required, therefore no survey was required to indicate where the boundary of the property was, and I'm kind of eyeballing over to our director of planning over there. Am I correct in that?
Director Walsh?
Through the mayor of the council, so no, you don't normally or always need a survey for purposes of a building permit if we can ascertain the boundaries fairly accurately. In this case, if council recalls some for previous discussions, there wasn't a survey relied upon by the applicant of well, sticking to this property.
Yep.
I'm not sure the date exactly that the structure was erected, but right now in the building code, it's 160 square feet that you don't need a building permit. And previously it was about 105
So
for
in,
January of this year.
so in August, September of 2020, would a structure of 112 square feet have required a permit?
I'm thinking it might have, yeah, because I think it was 100, but like I say, 104 point something square feet and below did not need a permit.
Okay.
But I may want to refer back to my chief building official just to be, I take a double measure on that.
All right.
Go ahead.
May I send a quick message off
To whom?
asking clarification? Somebody not in this room. Somebody who would know the figure.
I think probably what we should do is refer this
Refer
matter
this
back
back.
to staff and ask
you.
for a report to come back to council.
Thank you. I would be interested in knowing when we went or when the province changed the requirement from roughly 105 to 160.
To the mayor, yeah, that was January of this year when the promise switched over to basically the national code with some exceptions.
I do think the whole subject of the delegation should be, this is my opinion, referred to staff just because there's a number of of pieces we need to disseminate here. The tree, the cost of the removal of the tree, the responsibility to remove the tree and where that belonged, but who took care of it, where the shed is, and other possible discussions. And I would prefer that to come back in a staff report.
Sure. And that's why I asked about the cost
Yeah.
of the removal. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Rowley?
Just one question, and might have that in notes from previous discussions on this. How much of the shed is once again on municipal property? How far are we on that property? It's
I would look to the delegate to tell us how approximately.
Approximately 70 to 75.
So most of the shed is on
Quite a bit,
municipal property.
on the
Yeah.
property. And okay. We can just add that to the staff report. I'll probably clarify a question.
Some of this will be updating a portion of a staff report, but other things will be including new information that we've received tonight.
Okay.
Anyone else from council? I note the motion in front of me by Councillor Wheeldon and seconded by Councillor McCausland says to receive. Would you like to refer? Motion's moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
That council refer to staff the delegation from Claudia Kusiak regarding seeking reimbursement of expenses for tree removal and severance of shed location at 146 Cedar Street. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. It doesn't say so, but we're looking for a staff report to come back. Thank you. Madam Clerk, are we aware of any citizens' comments this evening? No. Brings us to staff reports. The first report is with regard to a communications board. Manager Hagerman, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Not at this time, Mayor.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that Council receive this report on the communications board and refer the item to the 2026 budget with costing. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. The next item is proposed updates to the projection methodology guideline to support the implementation of the Provincial Planning Statement 2024. Director Walsh, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Nothing further to add, Mayor?
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that Council receive the staff report regarding new provincial growth allocations methodology for purposes of information. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wright.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Walsh. Just wondering, you've more or less summarized the report, the proposed updates to the projection methodology guideline. Do you anticipate any potential risks coming out of it for the municipality with the differences from old to new?
Director Walsh.
I think to the mayor, to council, good question. I think the question of risk might be more relevant in terms of setting up, to the municipality. I would say there's less risk because there's more flexibility. It doesn't say that growth forecasts are only subject to the time of comprehensive review under Section 26 of the Planning Act anymore. So previously you got your growth allocation and that was it for 10 years until you updated your official plan, pretty much. So with this, that is no longer applicable. So there's more flexibility if that translates into less risk in context to your question. I guess there might be risk in terms of having oversubscription to growth, which can always have an impact if we're not ready for it.
Follow up.
Yes, please. Again, through you. In kind of looking everything over, and I'm not a planner by any stretch, but you kind of mentioned it, and just the risks of sprawl, because that oversight is going to be missing. That comes at the 10-year planning portion. do you see like potential loss of farmland, wetland, like there's already environmental safeties that are missing between the province and federal now, and this seems to kind of relax that potentially even further.
Director Walsh.
Through the mayor. So good question again. I think we can control density through our more specific policies of the official plan, which we do now. We have 3 levels of density, low, medium, and high. High density goes up to between 1,600 net dwelling units per or dwelling units per net hectare. So I think we can still direct growth in terms of those more specific policies for density to be more efficient in land use. There are additional layers of policy in the provincial policy statement itself, talking about efficiency of land use. So there's lots to rely on there.
Thank you both. Councillor Rowley.
I did have one question, and maybe if I look into it a little bit deeper, as far as the limits in the settlement areas and what those boundaries will be. Is that kind of more focused on, again, as to Councillor Wright, more in farming or the rural communities? Is that what we're dealing? They're going to take limits from that away?
Director Walsh.
So the previous PPS said that for, say, rural settlement areas, hamlets, that those boundaries could be rounded out. And there's really no operational or definition of what is meant by rounding out, other than trying to make those boundaries maybe more efficient in terms of the topography of the terrain, existing infrastructure, or better layout of new infrastructure, as the case may be, etc. In the case of rural settlement boundaries, the County of Northumberland official plan will dictate that to a significant extent, and currently it says maximum of 10% or so shall be rural development of the overall growth forecast. So there will be always that cap via the county official plan. And that in itself has some flexibility because that is applied not specifically to 10% within Brighton, but 10% through the whole county. So we can't really speak to what's happening on the other municipalities necessarily, and we'll have to rely on the county to track that.
Thank you both. Councillor Wright.
Sorry, that raises another question for me. It seemed like there was a little bit more offloading from the county onto the municipalities. So will the county still have some oversight regarding all this, or are they just more or less completely putting it on our shoulders?
Director Walsh.
The PPS, Provincial Policy Statement issued under Section 3 of the Planning Act, that is the framework for all growth planning in the province of Ontario. It still says that growth allocations will be done via the upper tier and its official plan. But it doesn't say that you can't amend a lower tier official plan if there's an appropriate forecast done at the local level. It might mean amending both, say, the Brighton official plan and the county official plan if that's been justified through that technical approach. But it's now an option.
Thank you both. Anyone else? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Next report is with regard to records management. Madam Clerk, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Yes, just one thing. I just wanted to say that I'd like to apologize for the earlier oversight in the agenda package. The clerk's email policy and the CIO's ongoing report were initially missed, but now have been included in the agenda and are also available on the council's desks.
Thank you for that. I have a motion moved by Councillor Betwell, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receives the staff report regarding the records management legal hold procedure and email records management policy for information, and the council approves the legal hold procedure attached to Schedule A and the email records management policy attached to Schedule B to the report. Is there any discussion? Councillor Butwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So to the clerk, if I may, we have now a less muddled policy. We have something that's less muddled than what we were kind of operating by before. I know we have spoken about committees of council, local boards that may have council or of boards of council having responsibilities to maintain proper email records. So there's a reference here about personal emails. There's several references to personal emails. So an email message which has no relevance to municipal business, such as messages to friends, non-work related messages, municipal council staff and volunteers. I think the policy should better address that personal items should be via personal email. Rather than convolute something, there might be bits and pieces in there that are personal. But if they are through municipal channels, they're municipal property. Additionally, when it comes to deleting, so under the policy number 4, emails which are temporary records or personal email messages shall be deleted as soon as they have served the purpose for which they were sent, received, or stored. So shall being the operative word. So if they are not immediately destroyed, deleted, whatnot, then they can't be. By that definition, they are not considered temporary nor personal. Is that how I understand that? So deleted at the moment after they're sent or received?
After received, I would. That's what I'm thinking, yes.
Right. So if they don't delete them immediately, then they become
Become a record,
They
yes.
become the record. So if they're deleted 2 days later, then that is in contravention of this policy.
Right, if we
Right.
catch it, yes.
So flipping then the page over, under backups of the email system are intended to restore computer system operations in the event of a disaster and will not be used for records retention purposes. So how often are the backups performed?
Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for that. That would be through our IT department. I'm not sure.
Okay, I would guess that they would be done overnight every day. Because otherwise, but I do not know the answer to that.
I do not know.
So how will improperly deleted records be searched? So if somebody does delete something that should not have been deleted, but you can't use the backup to search for deleted records, how does that work?
I don't have an answer for you. I'm not sure how that would work.
Okay,
We
so
can look into that for you.
yeah, I would very much like
Okay.
that before I agree to this, because I see that while it's a great step forward, it leaves too many holes for what has been perhaps happening
Mhm.
to continue happening and kind of be caught between the lines.
Okay.
Anything further? Is it your intention to refer this back to staff?
I would like to make a friendly amendment to refer this back to staff for some further clarification. Yes,
No,
but it's not my motion.
It is in fact your motion.
It is. That's really hilarious.
So Anne Butwell as the mover, yes.
That is me.
It is you,
I'm
yes.
over 5-0 now.
Yes, weird things happen, that's true.
Weird things happen in those 2 years.
So as a friendly amendment,
As-
that
to
council refers the staff report, et cetera, to staff. We'll just say it refers
To staff and
They'll bring it
the
back.
clerk could then speak to the IT gentle person and get some answers on that, because I don't actually like it. And I'm surprised I signed that because I had my questions all ready to go.
Councillor Wheeldon as a second, are you okay with that?
Actually, I did have a follow-up
Go ahead.
somewhat. So when it comes to a committee of council, that kind of thing, how difficult, well, again, you don't know. So perhaps they could also have a look at how difficult it would be to set up emails for the key people on a committee. So chair dot environmental sustainability at brighton.ca, so that there is further oversight, so that people don't use their personal email, because otherwise things that should be part of the record are being omitted.
I do know that's done in at least one case. I'm not sure about others. I know the Applefest chair, as an example, has a brighton.ca address.
Yeah, and I know that the DBIA has a single, but they have an executive that should be like treasurer at, secretary at, and communication could easily go through that.
Right. Anything further? Sorry, I'll read what I've written. That council refers the staff report regarding the records management, legal hold procedure, and email records management policy for information back to staff for some clarification. Anything further? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Next report is the Rain Barrel Program, CAO. We've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
No, Mr. Mayor, not at this time.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The council received the report on the establishment of a rain barrel program in the municipality of Brighton, and that council approve any unspent funds in 2025 to be carried over to 2026. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wright.
I was hoping for some clarification based on an email that I think all of us received this week about potential discounts on water bills with the use. If someone could address that, please. I wasn't, I didn't see that in this report, so I just want to make sure.
CAO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Wright. Certainly, there was nothing in this report. This allocation of funds was done during our discussion around budget in 2025, and it was specifically for rain barrels and establishing a rain barrel program. I think there was a number of us that were touching it and trying to get some information, and unfortunately, it's taken us a little bit to bring it back. But at that time, there wasn't specific direction to look at any discount on water bills, or I know there was also a reference there to provide some kind of rebate for those who already owned them. If council wishes to go that route, probably I would ask that it come back, because we're talking about something that then becomes quite administratively a burden to staff. We have set this up with the intent that the two suppliers in town, we wanted to look at it from an economic development opportunity as well, and set it up so that the two suppliers will invoice the municipality and do the discount rate on site. So there's really no impact administratively for the staff here. So this seems to be an easy program to move forward, and we have some sufficient funds, I think, to get it off the ground, and hopefully some, if there's great uptake, we can ask for additional funds in 2026. And if not, we'll carry it into the spring of 2026. But if council wants to give direction to look at something else, then I think we need direction to do that.
Councillor Wright as a follow-up. Go ahead.
Just as a comment to say that I would be in favor of not doing some sort of a rebate on the water bill itself, because the win is getting the barrel for cheaper, and you will be saving on your water bill because you are not using your hose to water your outdoors.
There's already a natural built-in rebate, so to speak. Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you. I can address the confusion. This entire initiative came at the prompting of a resident through the Environmental Sustainability Advisory Committee. And one of the programs that had been cited from another jurisdiction, are quite a few municipalities in Alberta that have programs similar to this. And at least one of them had an ongoing rebate for customers who have rain barrels, with the premise that they are using less wastewater or less water. And so they are putting less strain on the system. Typically, we meter our wastewater by looking at how much water we've used, knowing that it comes out of one pipe and goes into another. And so the idea, I think, behind that kind of program is that you're not using some of that water, and you're not using some wastewater as well. I think that's their reasoning. But in any case, I agree that the real benefit is getting somebody to get a rain barrel in the first place. We would be, if we had a program like that was paying a rebate to people who already have rain barrels, we're looking at an ongoing financial outlay for something where the win was at the very beginning when they got the rain barrel in the first place. So if we can just use the same amount of money or less to get people getting that rain barrel in the first place, that's the real win.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wright.
Just as further comment, we can give everybody the rain barrels, but we can't police whether or not they're actually using them either. So just handing out a rebate on water bills just doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you for that, Councillor Boutwell.
Thank you. And just to jump on both of those, I think it will be very difficult administratively to figure out who's had one, who's gotten a new one, who's getting one for somebody else. Out of all the households that we have in Brighton, that's an awful lot. And I'm sure that there are people who have rain barrels, but are also shedding their downspouts directly into our sewage system as well. So I kind of feel like it's all in a wash anyways.
Which is against our bylaws. Councillor Wheeldon.
Just finally, I'll say that I respect the desire to have the use of rain barrels recognized as a positive thing, a pro-social thing. And so I do want to say big thank you to everybody who's using rain barrels. It makes a difference to our entire water system. It makes a difference to your yard and all of the critters that live there. Shout out to everybody who has a rain barrel. That's fantastic. If you already have one and you don't get a rebate, well, thank you for leading the charge.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Next report is the CAO ongoing report, capital projects update. CAO, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
No, Mr. Mayor, I do not.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland, that Council receive the CAO ongoing report and capital projects update. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wheeldon.
I did have a question about, I know that stuff happens, things evolve, and sometimes the estimated report date gets scratched out more than once. I'm just looking at the one on the financing strategies for the fire hall and paramedic base.
Do you want that or do you want the chief to have it? CAO?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Weldon. Certainly lots has changed. I think when we initially looked at this, we weren't even sure we would receive funding. Luckily, we received some funding. We went through some transition with our finance department, and as much as I tried to stay on top of it, we did outsource and had some assistance from an individual who had some background in this. But certainly when it came down to the specifics, our development charges and the other funds that we may use to look at these two projects, once we knew we were in a position to bring a new treasurer on board, I really thought it was best, not only for council, but also for the new treasurer to have an opportunity to dive down and really look at what our financial position is and have that recommendation come back from them. So the pressure is on, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to get this back soon to council and have a real overview of how we're going to fund these two projects.
And for those listening, the Councillor Wheeldon said that's more than fair. Anything further on the report? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. The next is a motion that is coming forward as from a notice from the last meeting. It's moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Rowley. Whereas Canadian governments at all levels are structured by and derive their legitimacy from democratic principles, practices, and norms. And whereas many countries around the world are experiencing increased political polarization and hostility, shifts toward authoritarianism, and the undermining of democratic norms. And whereas incivility and hostility increasingly define the political sphere in Canada at every level of government, but particularly in systems with political parties. And whereas this hostile political climate drives lower democratic participation, including lower voter turnout and fewer and less diverse political candidates, resulting in a lopsided and unhealthy democracy. And whereas poor political health undermines the ability of democratic institutions to exercise effective leadership and overcome the unprecedented challenges of the 21st century. And whereas elections are one of the most central and participatory parts of Canadian democratic systems. And whereas numerous studies, including those by parliamentary committees, have identified our first-past-the-post electoral system as driving increasing polarization and declines in voter participation and have recommended some form of proportional representation. And whereas electoral reform enjoys broad public support, with a majority of polling respondents who identify with every major party supporting change in the way that they vote. Therefore, be it resolved that the municipality of Brighton call upon the provincial and federal governments to enact electoral reform, adopting proportional systems in which every vote counts and polarization is diminished in order to safeguard, empower Canadian democracy. And further, be it resolved that this motion be circulated to Prime Minister Mark Carney and Premier Doug Ford and all Ontario municipalities. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate you reading the long motion. This was prompted by attending the AMO conference and hearing the keynote address from Andrew Coyne. Of course, he's speaking to the state of politics in the world, but also to the longstanding issues of the decline of democratic institutions in Canada, which is also the topic of his book, which I purchased and have since been reading. And it's, as someone who has been in some way or another organizing or campaigning toward improved democratic systems for a decade, it's disheartening to read his book and understand that it's worse than I thought. But the room was packed with officials and elected representatives from almost every municipality in Ontario and got a standing ovation for his comments. So I do think that this is a good moment to be reminding the other levels of government that that control the way that we vote in this country, that there are better alternatives. And they've looked into them before. They know the reports. They produced them in previous governments. And it is a bold and courageous thing for someone who gained ultimate power through a system to change that system in ways that would prevent them from regaining that power. So I understand why governments are hesitant to change the way that we vote when that's what worked for them. Nonetheless, I think it's really important that we continue to ask for more representative government, for opportunities to decrease polarization in our communities, for opportunities for more people to be heard and to feel represented at a time when so many of us, through our sense of a lack of agency, have a growing cynicism toward our fellow Canadians and fellow humans. I would really love for us to not embed that in the way that we conduct our affairs as a society. So that's the emphasis behind this motion.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Wright.
Just a comment from me. I was there to hear the speech as well, and it was pretty moving. It was pretty eye-opening. And I think putting forward this request to push this change, the legacy of protecting democracy, I think, far outweighs the value of any ego that sits at the head of any horseshoe, whether it be this one or the one in Parliament. So I would be very happy to vote yes for this one.
Anyone else? Indeed, the system that elects a government or sees a government elected is the very system that sees that same government eventually defeated. That will be true under proportional representation as well. Should we one day see proportional representation happen in this country? Anything further from members of council? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. We have nothing listed under unfinished business. We have no bylaws to consider this evening. There are no reports of minutes of advisory committees of council or review teams, which brings us to reports and minutes of statutory committees, boards, and external agencies. The first is the Save Our Heritage organization, with a motion moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receive the Save Our Heritage. That's organization, is it not? It is organization, yeah. May 15th and June 12th meeting minutes as presented. Councillor McCausland, I have changed the word Ontario to organization. Are you okay with that as the mover and Councillor Wheeldon as the seconder? Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Are there any opposed? That motion is carried. Brings us to the Curling Club meeting minutes, moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council received the Curling Club meeting minutes, May 29th, July 2nd, July 28th, 2025, as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Brings us to correspondence, direction items, endorsements, communications, and petitions. The only piece of correspondence comes from John Keating, Australian shop vendor. It's moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon. The council received the request from John Keating, Australian shop, to attend Applefest Street Fair. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. That brings us to FYI correspondence. The only item appearing here is the updates from Northumberland County. The motion is moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon. The council received the updates from Northumberland County, September 1st to 12th, 2025 as information. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. That brings us to question period. Is there anyone in the gallery with a question of anything that appeared on tonight's agenda? And no one on Zoom for that purpose? I'm going to read the actually, I'm not. Do we need a little break? Would we like a little break? Do you want to go straight through? So it's 7:16. We'll recess this meeting for 5 minutes and reconvene at 7:21. It is 7:22. I'll call this meeting back to order. And not yet. I have a motion moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council resolve into closed session September 15th, 2025 at 7:23 PM. Pursuant to the Ontario Municipal Act, RSO 2001 as amended, subsection 239(2)C, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, proposed sale of land in the industrial park, Sharp Road. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. We'll give staff a moment to transition. Transition back into the open. That brings us back into the open session. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wright, that Council rise and report from closed session September 15th, 2025 at 7:36 PM. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Council met in closed session is permitted to do so under the Municipal Act and is listed on today's council agenda and the closed session resolution. The following items were considered during the closed session and may require motions as necessary. The first item was the approval of closed session meeting minutes of September 2nd, 2025. A procedural motion to adopt those minutes was voted on in closed session, and therefore there remains nothing to be done in the public open session. Item 2 was pursuant to the Ontario Municipal Act, section 239 to subsection 239 C, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality local board, proposed sale of land in the industrial park Sharp Road. I do have a motion in front of me to receive confidential items enclosed. It's moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland, that Council approve the confidential directions provided in closed session September 15th, 2025. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. Move into our confirmatory bylaw with a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Corporation of the Municipality of Brighton Council meeting held on September 15th, 2025. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. And a motion moved by Councillor McCausland, second by Councillor Wheeldon, that the September 15th, 2025 council meeting adjourn at 7:38 PM. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. And may God save the King as everyone journeys home safely.